Everybody to ESL One Manila 2016. We have one of the most interesting matchups of the day. It's going to be Team Secret versus Team Empire. The new Team Secret, the very first chance that the public is going to be able to see this team fully in action. And we get a team where essentially we go back from where we started, right? Artur and Eternal Envy working together on the same team. I've got both Blitz as well as Milk joining me. Milk, what do you think?
I mean, this is going to be super interesting. I was one of the people that were deeply surprised when Universe and Artur went to Team Secret. I really didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming at all. Initially I thought it was a bad move, but, you know, over the past month or so, I've been hearing that they are, you know, probably one of the best inceptions that Team Secret has ever had, which says a lot because they've been very dominant throughout their existence. Poppy is by far the most successful captain out of anyone in the world. So for him to lead up the potentially best Secret roster of all time is going to be very interesting to follow.
As somebody who's been in competitive Dota for such a long time and was there for like the peak of Dota 1 and stuff like that, what kind of separates Puppy from the rest of the captains? Like, why is he, of all people, able to find this sustained success?
I mean, I think if we could clarify that, a lot of other captains would do the same thing, right? But he's been with so many different players now, and they all respect him so highly. And you know, as you were saying, the result speaks for themselves. He's been he's top 8 in every Valve event. I think we clarified, and only one of them, two of them now, TI5 and TI4. He went out a bit sooner, but in every major he's been in, it's been grand final or even winning it. With the TIs, he's been in 3 grand finals. And with all these results, and then ESL Ones obviously is also one of them very dominant as well. I think he's just got a good understanding of how to lead a team, most importantly. I think it's, you know, strategy is always important, but he also just strategizes very much unlike anyone else. He picks to his team strength or whatever picture he has in mind, and then he makes it work with the players he has. And Eternal Envy has been one of those people who's been up and down in his career, I'd say. It's been fluctuating whether he was stable or not. But during Poppy's reign in Team Secret, Envy has been playing really, really well. You know, he's had the occasional Divine Rapier Ember Spirit game where you're like, oh no, he didn't. He pulled, you know, Eternal Envy. But for the most part, he's actually been a very, very stable carry player, especially as of late, the past 6 months or so. So I think Poppy's just really good at seeing the strengths and weaknesses in his players and then making the most of it and eliminating those.
He really does. He really does seem like one of those people. He looks like he seems like a leader outside of the game, whereas you can't necessarily say that about other captains. They're more of a leader because of their knowledge of strategy and all that sort of jazz. But speaking of that kind of leadership here and being able to work within your own team, what sort of things do you think that Team Secret, we don't know anything about them, right? But we do know some of the strengths of their players. What are you looking for here? Because right now we're starting off with the Wisp OD combo, and they're going to follow this up with a Dazzle. This is very defensive support style pickups from Team Secret. This is something that harkens back to maybe older patches.
Not necessarily, though. One thing we saw a year and a half ago was at ESL One in New York, where they pulled out the Shadow Priest, Necrophos, Wisp tri-lane, aggressive tri-lane. They went in, they took down towers, put on so much early aggression, won the game in 16 minutes. I think this is, you know, they're sort of on that same road, essentially. And I don't think we ever see Poppy play anything defensively. Regardless of what he picks, he still picks it to put the pressure on the enemy. So just because he picks Dazzle, I think they'll use it sort of the same way that we saw OG do in Frankfurt, where they just kept on taking fights, especially up against a team like VP. When OG played VP in Frankfurt, they would keep taking the fight to VP just because they knew they could use the heal in the Shallow Grave. So I don't think the assessment that it's necessarily a defensive draft is right. And then, of course, Relocate can be used as one of the most aggressive and kill setup spells in the game.
Yeah, I think something cool, too, about the Nyx Assassin when it works really well with IO just because he can scout for you and set up kills, and this is a hero that has heavy burst damage. This is a fight ender, is how I think that the game should be looked at. Nyx opens up on somebody, he already gets them to less than half HP. Then if Empire want to take a fight, they're already at a numbers disadvantage, but I want to talk a little bit more about Empire. I feel like this is a lineup that hasn't gotten a lot of attention coming into this event, obviously. Team Secret is going to be kind of like the marquee. How are they going to do? We want to see what the reunion of Eternal Envy and Arteezy looks like. But for me, Empire, this is a team where they've got a lot of individual skill. A lot of these players played on Team Spirit at the Shanghai Major. They've got some standout players like Scandal, who I haven't seen in a while personally, who is supposed to be like all the rage. King R, I've seen him in various iterations of some Tier 2 European teams. Played a lot during when FPL was around.
I think Ramses is a very individually talented player.
Yeah, he's like the CIS representation of Arteezy, right?
Yeah.
It's like all of these scenes have these like young and upcoming like star players, but he's kind of the answer to it. He's AK, highly individually skilled. I know Team Spirit thought maybe maturity was an issue for him a little bit, just because he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do. But now he's on this Empire squad that has a lot of veteran talent, and more importantly, they've got a lot of individual skill to back them up. And this could just kind of send a statement to the rest of the teams in this tournament, like, look, we're going to try to take down Secret. It's not going to be the easiest task, but if we do so, we're a team to be feared.
I do feel like this story is kind of similar to our previous matchup with Mineski. You know, they're not necessarily right now ranked to be their best team of their region, but this is their best opportunity, especially against a team who we haven't really seen anything. This might be a chance for a big potential upset, better opportunity than you'll have anytime soon.
Oh yeah, it also tells the tale of how regions that haven't been very successful over the course of the past year, we've seen it with China, we've seen it with the CIS countries on Southeast Asia, they're giving new talent and chance because they saw how much the Western countries benefit from it. We saw Sumail break into the scene with a huge level of success, right? Within a year, he was one of the most winning players of all time. And then, of course, Artur, a player that's been widely regarded as one of the best, very best players in the world for 2 years now. And so it's the established names of Team Secret coming up against yet another talented team that has taken in fresh players that are fairly inexperienced competitively, but they have the mechanical skills to back it up. And this is something that both China and CIS needs to do at this point. They need to be able to match this high level of skill that we've seen come out of both America and Western EU over the past 2 years.
So what is this lineup from Team Secret? Break it down for me, because this almost feels like we're already in a new patch or something. This is a lineup that we don't look at all, except for maybe the OD and Wisp.
I mean, so you mean the strategical lineup, the actual heroes, or the players? Because player-wise, player-wise, I think Secret is interesting in the sense that they have what most people would regard as the best captain, probably the best offlaner. Probably one of the best mid laners. I think Arteezy is one of the most respected players amongst the rest of the pro players. He's just haven't had the same amount of results to back it up with. He doesn't have that first place finish in a major, basically. So that's where he sort of, that's sort of the meme, the joke about it. But in reality, he's still considered one of the very best players.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for it. Even though there's a lot of talk about him, he was still part of that team that won 4 lands in a row. There's a reason why teams move around pieces just for this one guy, because he does have that talent. But I don't know. I'm pretty interested to see how Empire's lineup shakes up. I think they've got a pretty good battling lineup. We're always a fan of Earth Spirit whenever he's in a game, just because.
I mean, who's not? Except for the opposing team.
The one thing I think that Empire's going to struggle with, though, is roaming on these heroes is pretty difficult. Like going against the Wisp, it's not going to be easy. Later on, as the game progresses to killing this Naga, I don't know if they have...
They do have a Lion.
They do have a lot of burst damage, actually, and a lot of control and silences.
And it seems as if the team fight is always going to go in the favor of Team Empire. If this is an even game, and they can manage to nullify Song of the Sleep, or not allow Secret to escape out of a team fight with Song of the Siren, then Empire should by all means win straight up 5-on-5s.
Yeah. The only issue, I think, with Team Secret's or Team Empire's lineup is that they don't have the best high ground ability. They don't have building hitters. So even if they take early advantages, it's going to be hard for them to just end the game. The benefit is that they do have a Spectre who can go toe-to-toe late game with a lot of these heroes, but at the same time, you're going to go late game against a Naga Siren plus OD. Always going to be a scary test.
It's the fact that we're dealing with 2 big carries right on the side of Secret.
And as you were saying, it's incredibly hard to kill off this lineup, especially going into the late game when you have the Wisp and the Dazzle to sort of keep the target that Empire chooses to go on alive, and then also you have Song of the Siren to just break it all up and run away. And then Nyx Assassin and OD have escapability in their own right as well, both through Astral and Vendetta and Spiked Carapace and so forth. So it can be very infuriating, actually, especially for some of these new players to come up and play against this. It might actually, you know, sort of tilt them.
Well, we are going to have the battery room picked up at the bottom lane by Secret. Looks like they're fully dodging this attempt at the Darkseer and Earth Spirit dual lane, kind of similar to the Tusk Darkseer that we saw from our previous series. Secret's plan is actually to try and fully dodge that one. They are still going to be pursued out. Looks like Darkseer is already at the bottom lane now. Do you think it's just because of the fact they feel more comfortable matching against the Spectre than for their carry Naga Siren? Or is this something intended for Universe to get more of an advantage from?
This is what they used to do, right, at the beginning of their team when they had
with Misery.
Yeah, they try to give Misery this 1v1 start because I think the one thing that people really underrate Eternal Envy is his ability to come back into a game. Even when he has to be the aggressor in this lane, he's going to make sure that his offlaner gets a lot of space. And I think that's the right idea.
At the same time, Nyx Assassin especially is one of those offlane heroes that actually needs the level to be valuable to the team, and the sooner that he comes online, he doesn't catch up as well. So it's very important that he gets 6 and gets to be that threat around the map.
At bottom, Puppey, he's going to be caught out. We were following that one for a while, and there's really not anything Eternal Envy can do. One of the perhaps downsides of running a carry like this. Can't really help out when the aggression turns on to the supports.
That dual lane, though, is stupid strong by Empire. Darkseer plus Earth Spirit, I don't know what you're supposed to do that against many combinations just because the kill potential is so high. The double Ion Shell with the gap closing support, of all things, like that's the ridiculous part.
Yeah.
Is Earth Spirit's a support. Like if they realize that this hero doesn't need a lot of farm to do what he does. And I guess the benefit right now is that Secret, their OD is going to have an easy time mid against this puck. Scandal's already just at a paltry 3 CSs. Artur's already at 9. Meanwhile, in this top lane, Universe is getting at least a lot of levels. He's already picked up his level 3, and I think Secret's timing is much more based around levels than anything.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest thing, and that's one of the problems with aggressive tri-laning, right? If that fails, you risk being put behind so far that you can't really catch up until very much later in the game. So I think I'm curious to see how it pans out. This creep cam next to the lane is going to be very valuable to Secret.
Yeah, top Universe is going to get right-clicked by King R. Not really going to lead to too much, but again, this mid lane, things are kind of going relatively slowly. It feels like they're not even bothering sending the Earth Spirit mid just because it is an OD. But they want to make an attempt at Eternal Envy.
And it was blocked in by the invis from Maposhka, and they're actually trying to get a little bit more body blocking. In time for the double Ion Shell, they will hit that rolling boulder, slowing down Eternal Envy even further. Their Ion Shell is doing a majority of the damage, and it will be enough to kill the Naga Siren. A high amount of armor is usually a problem for killing the Naga Siren in the laning phase, but you look at a matchup like this, the double Ion Shell, lots of magic damage, follow that up with a kick or two. That's good enough to be able to get the kill. At this point, does Secret consider rotating again? Do they move Nyx Assassin out of that top lane and try and get away from this Darkseer combo?
Oh, bottom again.
Yeah, because they might lose Pylai Die here. He's already got the spirits out. Maposhka trying to commit for the kill, but he can't quite get it. And finally, Team Secret will get themselves a kill on the board.
I think one thing there is to be said about the current patch and meta is that dying early on in the game right now, in the first 10 minutes, isn't that detrimental to the progress of your game, so that as long as they even it out around the 10 to 15 minute mark, it doesn't matter all that much.
Yeah, I completely agree. I had this discussion with Purge just now too, where like the overall, it won't affect the overall context of the game unless the lanes go so out of control. Like if you start the game 0 to 10 or something like that. Then
Yeah.
So in other words, you're okay with them continuing to
I
go
think
to
so,
the
as long
bottom
as they
lane?
put the Dazzle on the top, instead of committing the 3 heroes on the bottom lane.
Yeah.
Poppy read the game correctly, obviously, because it's Poppy, and he goes up in the top lane instead, makes sure that Spectre doesn't have the easiest of times, Nyx gets some more space, he gets some level himself, sort of just evens out the laning phase.
Right now they're going to make the
on
move.
the mid lane. Arteezy is going to be picked off here, looks like, as the silence might be enough. No, the Fairy Fire, he gets enough time to be able to get off that imprisonment after the silence fails. Looks like they may still be able to run down Scandal. Pops a healing salve, has an orb coming up in 2 seconds time. Is going to go back into the river and should be able to escape from this one. They have the extra movement speed, but it looks like Scandal is healthy enough to be able to stay alive.
I don't even think that Astro was that necessary. I'm pretty sure he was.
Oh, but just like that, they realize this is the opportunity to go on the bottom lane. They roll in Mapochka. That was a beautiful combination from the Earth Spirit. Just the minor thing, but him coming in, hitting that rolling boulder, and then kicking Eternal Envy deeper into the lane so they have the time to run him down with the Ion Shell. That was a perfect combination by him.
I think the biggest problem that Secret has right now is that I don't see any other options for them to create enough space for Eternal Envy to catch up, other than the Nyx Assassin.
Nothing you can do there. Phase Shift may not cost you any mana, but it's certainly not going to get you away from Artur when he sees that opening.
Sort of think that Secret should now begin to at least think about rotating the lanes, just because the Nyx is about to hit his level 6. Once that happens, I think that's when you make the full rotation, especially when he has Arcane Boots. Before that point, I guess you want to hard commit for that. Otherwise, it messes with the overall timing of the game, which sounds a little bit weird just because Eternal Envy's struggling at bottom, but you want to make sure that this sacrifice is meant for something.
Get another kick, slowing down EE. This time, they can't fully commit for a kill or anything.
All right, so now you have the level 6 on Universe. You've got the Arcane Boots too. I think this is around the time where you want to swap things out, because Empire, something they've done really well is they've just abused this bottom lane, and they've picked up quite a few levels on their Earth Spirit.
Yeah, and what the viewer may not know, because they don't sit and practice with us all day when we practice with vegetables, is that the Nyx Assassin is one of those heroes that wants to pose a constant threat around the map by being out of vision, basically. As long as you can't see him, you think he's on your lane.
Yeah.
That's the mindset that you're in. And I think Universe, one of the reasons why he's considered one of the best offlaners in the world is because he's so good at always being at the right time, in the right place at the right time, and then also constantly being off map. He'll never touch creep waves. He'll always pose that constant threat and create paranoia in the enemy.
Yeah, I think the best way I've ever had it explained is when Merlini told me, he's like, you want the enemy team to always have that sense like, oh, he's probably down here, and you want them to constantly second guess themselves. And I think the benefit though right now is that Empire's read this situation really well. They know that this is the kind of read that Secret will make, where they'll rotate once they hit their level 6 on their offlaner, and they'll swap the 2 lanes. But first they'll look for that invasion into the Radiant safe lane. I think Empire have done that really well. Clearly, this is a team that they scouted out.
Yeah, they very much backed out. And that is a big downside of the Nyx Assassin, right? Is that his timings are kind of easy to read. They're going to come
bottom?
in. Oh, nice! Follow up with the silence. They're going to be able to fully take down Universe before he has a chance to hit a button.
That was
4-2
absurd.
now. Empire very crisp on the execution and reading Secret's strategy to a T.
The Earth Spirit especially, that was such a fast kick.
That was actually, coordination-wise, that was excellent. Like, that is a really well-coordinated team. They called for it immediately. They said, haunt now. They get everything off in conjunction. They pick up a kill on a relatively high level hero, too.
So what's interesting is that Eternal Envy is actually leading the CS board despite his early deaths.
I think the lane just keeps pushing into him when they decide to go for the kills on him. But 41 CS when you've died 2 times and have been relatively pressured doesn't look nearly as good, especially since a lot of those are neutrals. They're going to have to lean really heavily on this mid laner, as Arteezy still has the advantage against this puck mid, which is what we expected, especially since the Earth Spirit almost entirely focused on shutting down that bottom lane.
So do you think that the tower push is going to come out as soon as the Darkseer has the mechanism?
I don't know if it'll just be like straight tower pushes ever, just because I don't think their lineup functions around that, but it's more just Earth Spirit goes around, sets up an opportunity for their Spectre, and then maybe they decide to go for the push thereafter. The crazy thing right now about Empire's lineup, though, is they've already got the level 6 on the Earth Spirit. That's a really fast level 6 on a support hero, and you can create a lot of chaos with this ultimate.
This may be that kind of opening that you're looking for here. Mapochka TPing into the tier 2 at mid. These are 2 of your big initiators to try and set up a potential pickoff that can lead into maybe more of a team fight or pressuring a tower.
And Arteezy's used the...
Unfortunately, our Earth Spirit no longer in position at this mid lane, or maybe he could punish this. They may still be able to. Scandal's dropping a bit low. They managed to get the Hex under Arteezy. Nice long kick there from the Earth Spirit to be able to finish off the Wisp. They're going to be able to roll into Mapochka. They have the follow-up here from Ramses as they identify Artur as target number uno to be able to take down. He goes for the TP out. Do they have a stun? They actually don't. No vacuum up on the Darkseer, so he's able to get out, but Secret still losing a lot out of that fight. 2 heroes picked off, and the mid lane is going to be pressured now by Empire.
Really well done by Empire in terms of execution. I think the only thing that one sort of out of sorts is the Earth Spear could have just been sitting mid and waiting for that opportunity, but...
Oh, what is this? Eternal Envy setting up the sleep on a Scandal here. Does he actually think they're going to be able to pick him off with the right kind of impale? Nope. Gets the orb out. Meanwhile, they do have the relocate in, able to catch Afterlife, so that's one for Team Secret, but they need a little bit more. But Pochka, ooh, Arteezy canceled that ultimate, realizing it was just barely going to be out of range. Hoping to be able to get an extra kill off of that one still. Secret alleviating some of that pressure in the mid lane.
That's a very optimistic go on the puck by Universe.
Scandal still going to be imprisoned up here. Doesn't have the orb, has a regen, but I don't think he has enough space. Artur still has the ultimate to be able to drop. It hits King R as well. He still has enough mana to be able to get off the Hex, but now with the drums activated, King R's just going to be run down. Easy peasy for Arteezy. 6-5 now, 10.5 minutes in.
He's created a lot of space for his team. They made the right move in making sure that he had an easy lane matchup here. As now you start to see that the laning phase didn't nearly matter as much as we thought.
So we can say that Team Empire, in a way, like with their crisp execution, they were doing, the right things, but it was kind of the things they had to do, right? They had to be able to win the laning phase, just because of the fact they knew Team Secret was going to be able to come online a little bit later with their kind of team fight.
Exactly, and when their ultimates are up, they're obviously going to win these team fights, but as soon as they're down, and because they don't have this natural tower pushability, and because of the low levels in the early game, they just couldn't commit to the fights early on after their initial fight. So when Secret went back in with relocate and so forth, it was easy kills for them to pick up again, and then they sort of end up with an even trade, right? They lose 2 heroes initially, but then they gain another 3 kills actually because they picked them up in their own jungle.
So Blitz, explain to me why in that case, if the ultimate's down from the OD, so's the sleep, why didn't Empire rotate to the bottom lane? Is there something better about them putting pressure on mid? Because it seems like this would be the time to fight.
I just think you can't rotate heroes in 1 by 1, and mid, Ramsey's going to get gone on, but
Coils out,
there.
Universe tries to hit the stun,
Oh,
misses
here's the
out on that
4-man.
one, and now the Earth Spirit making the big initiation, already gets the 3-man silence. They're going to follow up again, going for Arteezy first, trying to force him back, might even
They
be able
want
to
this
kill him.
hero
A little
so
bit more
badly.
damage is all requires, but Pylai Die comes in with save at the perfect time. Secret will have to play back, though. Can't get any sort of turnaround, even if they do manage to save Arteezy. It still costs them a buyback on the Wisp to be able to save Arteezy's life.
I think that's fine, and most importantly, they were able to protect this mid-tier 1 tower, because I think if Empire win that fight with any sort of advantage, they try to take that one down, but man, that was rough, just because, again, you had to commit a lot of ultis for that. For a second, it looked really good. The Earth Spirit got into the middle 4 heroes, he's able to get his Magnetize off, but there just wasn't enough follow-up damage so far.
Exactly, because it's only the Wisp that is taking back in his income. It doesn't really matter too much. It just buys Secret sufficient time for them to just scale into the late game. Siren obviously, as William said earlier on, Siren OD is going to be beating the Spectre in the late game. Darkseer Puck is not enough for them to go in and take that fight. They do have a lot of disable though, especially through Lion, so it's going to be interesting, but I do think it benefits them as long as they keep this middle tower alive.
So having that team fight and Empire, unfortunately not gaining much with their big team fight ultimates. The ball is now in Team Secret's court. As the OD back up with his big time ultimate. Naga Siren also has the sleep, but not with his team here, as they're just going for a simple 3-man push, trying to force Empire into rotations here. Unfortunately, the kick is going to be sidestepped there by Artur.
They know.
Secret will dance away.
Now there's 4 heroes up here, but the one downside of Empire's lineup is they can't really create pressure on the other side of the map. They don't have a hero like the Nature's Prophet that naturally does that for them. If anything, they sort of have to take these engagements just because they don't have that superior tower pushing. So even if they go for their own bottom push, a hero like Spectre, he's not going to pressure that tower down really quickly.
And one thing we haven't touched upon is actually Scandal's farm on the puck. He is far behind right now. He's only sitting on 1100 gold, so he doesn't have that Blink Dagger gold.
It's 14 minutes in too. Like that, the timing of that kind of just makes Puck a real big non-factor in this game so far.
Yeah, his CS was so low from that mid lane 1v1 that he was forced into.
The biggest issue is just when you initiate with Puck, you almost always want to do it with your Blink Dagger, and you want the orb to be that saving mechanism for yourself so that you can orb out while simultaneously getting a lot of the damage in. But the later this goes on, the more difficult it's going to be for them to burst or set up the fights. And Secret are going to go for a smoke of their own as they're going to move down here. And Empire, they want to take this fight, but they might just not have the items or the heroes to do it.
Puppey putting himself out there as bait. He knows the rest of his team is going to be able to follow this up. They're going to go immediately jump on a Puppey, but the trap is sprung. Now the rest of Secret come in. A big ultimate being dropped by Artur, already limiting the mana of Team Empire. Ramsey's committing here for Universe, but the damage is coming out from the Earth Spirit. They slow down this fight now. Secret hoping to be able to save Universe with that Imprison. Mapochka continuing to get some damage out. Universe is going to be left behind here as Team Secret call quits on that team fight. Not really able to get the execution that they wanted. They did set up that trap nicely, but weren't able to finish off the puck. That was definitely one of the bigger targets they were aiming for.
Yeah, I think Universe missed his impale. I think he wanted to use it and then he cancelled it.
I mean, it must have been just because the way that fight started was actually really good for Secret. Like, they lost the dazzle, but they had Empire had to commit so much for that.
Again, Artur manages to sidestep everything the Earth Spirit is throwing at him, but
really
they still
nice
manage to get
pickoff.
the double impale into Pylai Die, almost being popped by the Finger of Death. But again, the double support combination saving each other time after time will be able to provide the turnaround as Secret come in and force and take the numbers advantage against Team Empire.
Both teams battling around this mid tower. They want to make sure that they don't just give it up for free. All of the engagements taking place around this area as Secret. They're going to make sure that they flash some heroes mid. Don't want to give up this tower for free if you can. Even denying it wouldn't be a hard win for them.
And they really just can't deal with this OD right now. He's too tanky, and with the backup of the Shadow Priest and the Dazzle, it's... Oh, that's the same hero. The Wisp and the Dazzle, it's incredibly difficult for Empire to do anything, especially when they don't have all the ultimates to commit.
Yeah,
So
what do you think of this build from Artur? I know, not a big fan of item build splits, but Hooded Defiance is something a little bit unusual, but it does play into what we're talking about, tanking up, making sure that between these supports and his item build that he lives through any kind of initiation from Empire.
Yeah,
That's
I think it's pretty interesting in the sense that he negates a lot of the burst damage that Empire have, and that's the only way they're going to be able to pick him off, right? If you think about it, he's got both the Dazzle and a Wisp to be able to save him, so usually the ways that you get around those two heroes is that you just burst somebody down before they can get their saving mechanisms off, but by having this Hood, he can take a lot of this sustained damage and kind of just turn things around. And that's a function that he just used that we don't often see is the active of the Hood as well. So he's got 1200 HP to back himself up on top of a Dazzle. I think it's an okay item progression.
And we saw what is already done to Empire. We saw Lion commit the Finger of Death to the Wisp instead, knowing that he was just going to heal up, so they might as well try to take out the supports, and even that failed.
Yeah. I think what you saw right there too in that mid attempt, more than anything, is just think about why they made that move. They feel we have to do something about this OD. So Empire gets a little bit impatient, and they focus so much of their attention on this OD. They're like, it's constantly in their minds that we have to do something about this OD. So they make this move. It's rushed. There's not a whole lot of synergy to it. It's a very low percentage play, but they make it just because the hero exists, essentially. And you have a good player playing him. So it's kind of like the same factor we saw in that Liquid series when they were playing against the Invoker. They made a lot of low percentage maneuvers onto the Invoker just because it was an Invoker.
Is this where our Wisp Dazzle come back into the meta here via Team Secret? This is a combination that we used to see a lot more of, that, you know, putting priority and stopping the initiation, or at least being able to prevent someone from going down. Is this where the playstyle of Team Secret is going to lead us?
I think it works when you have heroes like a Naga who will continue to independently farm, and you have a frontliner like the OD who can just deal out damage early game.
It depends a lot on what team we're watching. I think teams such as OG, Secret, as we're seeing right now, historically two teams that likes to play the Dazzle a lot, so yeah, that's definitely an option, but I don't think it's something that's bottom.
Jake is going to miss, but they still manage to get the Dream Crown. Follow-up Hex missed out the Impale, and now the relocate out comes in from Pylai Die. Perfectly on point.
That was the
another
finger?
Initiation. Completely failed.
That was the Finger of Death use too, and again, that looked actually like a really nice movement by them, but with the miss done and the Wisp waiting behind there, I think no matter what, he was okay. And again, that's just Secret anticipating. They realize this OD is going to be at the center of the focus right now of the game.
Yeah, it might seem as if it's Empire who's been in control of the entire early game, but if you look at it this way, there's most farm on Team Secret's course, and they've actually managed to take down a tower, whereas Empire is still struggling with that tower boost through their lineup. They are going to get that middle tower now.
And this is a really big tower for them to pick up. just for morale more than anything too. But it's going to open up a way into this jungle for them, and the next move would probably be to knock down that top tower.
Yeah, exactly. Now that they have the Blink on Puck, finally, and they have all the essential items that they need on all of their heroes. Even the spec, him evening out with the Siren right now is just it's sort of the problem with their lineup. They needed all these kills and needed to sort of snowball the lead against Team Secret, but because they had this defensive playstyle where they could just punish them as soon as Empire's ultimates were down, it's just rendered the Spectre sort of falling a bit behind, actually.
Did you see that move, by the way, by Empire? As soon as the top tower is pressured in by the Darkseer Ion Shell, Empire pings twice to that top tower and says, guys, nobody's defending this. So they immediately send a hero down near the Roche Pit, just because they want to be at least somewhat in position. They don't want to get caught by anything. But that's just another example of what it does when you push in the waves. It gives you free information, and Team Secret at the same time recognize this and say, this is a little bit too obvious. Nobody's defending this top tower.
So Secret miss out on, or at least are denied by Team Empire, another opportunity for them to take Roshan.
Yeah.
That is one of, like, you would say OD is probably one of the best Aegis heroes, right?
Yeah, just because he doesn't rely on anything. His ultimate, the crazy thing about this hero is, like, your ultimate is just icing on the cake. It ends the fights, definitively, but you don't really need to rely on it, just because the Arcane Orb, enough stacks of that, perfectly fine when it comes to damage.
What we're gonna see now is that with the lack of tier 1 towers that is starting to go down, you're gonna see how Secret can just move around the map with small groups of heroes, because the Siren can easily escape as long as Lion doesn't have a Blink Dagger. The Nyx Assassin can, with a bit of anticipation on how Empire is gonna move around the map, can also fairly easily escape. And even then, if one of them gets caught, it's not the end of the world. And then there's the Wisp running around with the OG the entire game now, able to relocate, pushing out the waves, and when the Radiance comes on the Siren, it's going to be even worse for Empire, who's forced to run around as a full group of heroes. Especially when their tier 1 towers goes down, because they can no longer rely on TPing into it. So that's really going to struggle for them going into this mid game, and that's going to mean that they fall further behind on the net worth.
Yeah. Again, I feel like this is another situation where Team Secret set a kind of a pretty obvious win scenario where they show the Dazzle at the top. If there's a go there, they can go for Roshan in return for Team Secret. But Empire, I think, read that same exact thing. It feels like these two teams are actually understanding a lot about the strategy that both are trying to employ here and countering.
Yeah, it's a lot of just mixes and feints more than anything from both sides. They're just kind of testing things out. The benefit that Secret have is, of course, they're going to have the Radiance Naga, which is going to be a huge spike to her. Something about Empire as well. I sort of feel they kind of have to start getting aggressive across the map. Like, Ramses' farm isn't really picking up as much as it should be. Most importantly, this Lion has really fallen far behind. But part of the reason why Lion is so dangerous and why it was prioritized by Secret at Shanghai is for the ability for this hero to set up kills with just one other hero, because of how strong Finger of Death is. When you can just get the Lion plus the Puck to pick somebody off. But who on Secret can you do that to? You've got a Hood OD that has demonstrated time and time again has a support behind him.
Oh, they didn't realize it, but that was actually a trap set up by Empire, and they fall through beautifully. Secret make the relocate in. Fortunately, Artur is going to be, his death is delayed by the Shalgrave, and he will be able to maybe get one kill. Not even that much. The imprisonment. They're going to go for the kick immediately, and right as he comes back, beautifully timed by Maposhka, a star Earth Spirit player being born here today. We're really seeing his level at a high level play. Now Ramsey still has that ultimate. They might be able to catch more as Puppy. He's definitely dead. Universe is going to be able to get out. So 2 go down, make it a third. Universe at the very last second, he made that call. I'm going on the Spectre, relocate in. As that last half second, he sees more of Empire and realizes it's a trap and blinks himself away, but by that point it's too late.
The thing about that, he actually had scouted them already for a split second at the turn of the lane. So I was surprised that they went on that. I don't think they expected all 5 heroes to be there. That's probably what happened. I think they expected 2 of them and that they could blow up the Spectre fast enough. But the relocate was just slightly off, and it allowed the Earth Spirit to just come in and combo as they landed, basically. The Wisp blew up immediately, and then the OD was just there being disabled by the rest of the lineup that came in afterwards. I don't think they expected the 5.
I think the cool thing about that too is the way that Empire sets that up. Their top lane is pushing in, their mid lane is at an even area, and the big thing about that is that means Secret aren't sure where the rest of the heroes are. They could be farming their own jungle. They could be farming the Dire jungle, the Radiant jungle. There's a lot of areas for Empire to open up the map for themselves when you push out the lanes like that. And this is something that you should watch as a viewer at all times, like where the lanes are relative to the rest of the game, because that's always going to determine your information. Like if you know top is pushing in, like Empire did, and nobody goes to defend that, then you can already reasonably assume that there's nobody on that Dire jungle area. And so Empire, they make sure they push out the lanes, they do all the little things right, then they set up for that bottom gank just because they think, okay, maybe the Spectre's not here by himself, but maybe all 5 aren't like waiting right on top of him. Like they won't be able to respond to this in time.
Yeah. This was great for Empire, but they're still playing against this clock where the Siren and the OD is just going to be too much for them to handle with the support on the back end of it. So I still think they need to continue seeking out these fights through clever play, possibly going for a smoke gank on the OD.
I think that kind of play though, Jacob, it only works like once. It's like you can only surprise a team like that. It's like one of those like cool one-off moves.
And because Universe was in Vendetta, it was actually weird that he wouldn't scout deeper into the to the jungle and into the lane to see if there was anyone hiding behind them. But these smoke ganks is what I think they need to execute, but they shouldn't be doing it on this side of the map. I think they should be actively looking for the Wisp and the OD.
Looking through Dire jungle?
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. So this mid lane is going to be pushed in. What Empire are going to do is they're going to get advantage of this high ground area first.
Well, Miposhka misses out on that roll. Universe does manage to get himself blinked out. They're still going to be able to get a bit of combo here. The Dream Quell goes out, and Pylite Eye is going to be hit by this one, but it's not enough to finish him off. And Eternal Envy with a saving grace here. Throws down the sleep.
Oh, this is
and
bad.
There is nothing Empire could do about that. And that was 3 different ultimates being used from Empire, all pretty decent duration ones, and Empire gained nothing off of this. And this is why it's so critical for the initiations that they do actually find for them to be able to execute it perfectly, because Secret always has an answer.
Yeah, this lineup is just, it's frustrating to play against, is what it is. You've got 2 levels of security for Secret in both the supports. Most importantly, you've got Eternal Envy, who just has to sit back, walk in.
Orator just blinks right in. There are 3 heroes that surrounding him. Universe is going to be able to provide him some backup for first. The kick comes in, they blow up Universe. Now here comes the relocate in as Pylite Die, hoping to be able to survive the 6 seconds required to be able to get Artur the hell out of here. 3 more seconds, but the nukes, they're coming quick and fast. And it looks like Pylite Die will go down first. Artur has no chance in hell, trapped in a corner, and Secret quick on the retreat, but Empire have already won the big engagement. They might be able to get more. Yeah, the dagger's going to be able to follow Puppey. He has no out here whatsoever, and Empire just want to fight right outside of the Roshan pit. They immediately funnel in. They're going to be able to take themselves Aegis. Empire have finally gotten control of this game that you two were both trying to push them towards, constantly trying to say, you know, they have to get aggressive. They finally found that fight.
Yeah, luckily for Empire, they still had that Earth Spirit ultimate ready to
Magnetize is so good.
It really is, especially in conjunction with the Darkseer as well. But what it is also the fact that this Nyx Assassin, they keep getting these false sense of we can fight this. But in the first one, he just sets them up for failure. We saw that the gank on the bottom lane that sort of put Empire ahead of this in this game. And then now in this fight, he goes in, he doesn't use Spike Carapace immediately, which is going to lead him to be disabled and be blown up immediately. So they essentially have their only hero that can set up things for them, just die in every fight or not be there.
Yeah. Can we agree that that was a mistake by Empire to back out? Naga Siren ult was down. Obviously the OD ult was down because he just used it right before he died.
Hey, I think it was fine. The way that they reset up, because the one thing about Secret that they really lack, when you've got all of these levels of defense on their team, the one thing they really lack is crowd control. Like their 2 supports don't provide anything in the way of disables. They just keep this OD alive. So when you can get rid of the Nyx Assassin really quickly, and the fights evolve like that, it's really hard for Secret to continue it, just because it's an OD chasing heroes around. And you never want that. You want static targets for the OD to just get on top of and hit. But Empire, if you look at their lineup, their 2 supports, yeah, they might not be getting too much farm, and the team fights early on kind of didn't shake their way, but at the same time, these are heroes that can come back into the game really easily. Magnetize, like Jacob pointed out, an incredible spell. Line is always going to have 2 different ways to disable in the fights as well.
But you're okay with them not completing that Roshan? Because I feel like that's still a liability if you get the OD Aegis.
The thing about overcommitting against the Naga Siren is that if you're not in any position to, because they can't take down Roshan very fast, they don't have the heroes to do it. So if you can't commit, if you go low, Sleep is going to catch you off guard.
That's my point. Sleep was on cooldown.
Yeah,
it was on
gets
cooldown
up so
for
very
significant.
No, it was up 10
No,
seconds after
I
they
checked.
backed
It was
off.
20. It was like 25 seconds. Still.
I think that you can
Even
delay
then-
the fight enough from Team Secret. I don't think I don't think you do Roshan so incredibly fast. If you notice, they were hitting it for like 10 seconds. They got it down to like a quarter. Like, if Secret do anything to slow it down, you just slow down the Dazzle ultimate, for example, into the Roche pit, then they're gonna stop doing it. I think Empire had the right idea right there. I don't think you make that.
It's too risky.
Yeah, exactly. Because think about what they gain there. You get an Aegis on who does it really game change on? Like Puck? No, not really. He doesn't have any items. Doesn't have a huge streak to go off of. We talked about in the last game why Spectre as an Aegis carrier is somewhat subpar. He's not like the OD where he's going to get that constant damage off, right? He relies on that haunt. So
Like you almost, as stupid as this gonna sound, you almost consider putting on the Lion so that he's a factor again once he respawns, just because he's gonna be blown up so fast by this secret lineup. Because once OD releases anything on him, he's gonna go down. But those disables are valuable.
Spike Carapace into the stun. Afterlife is going to get taken out by RTZ, but maybe not. The Met goes down. One more hit. If they do manage to get the kill, still though, the puck
want
with
it so
turn
bad.
fired is going to be able to take Artur in return. They do get the sleep out. That's only going to be able to save Universe's life. It was just a tad bit too late to be able to save the others of Team Secret. Another gank that Team Secret go for. Again, the Nyx Assassin setting up the relocate, but Empire so quick with the response are going to be able to catch 3 there as Puppey finally ends up going down. And now Team Empire pounding on the door of the Tier 2.
this value gem pickup too from the Puck has made a huge difference because Secret have been playing the vision game so much, but
Yeah, and they can no longer rely on the Nyx Assassin to go around and scout for information for them. He actually has to play a very passive game. And so Universe hasn't been this factor that he usually is on a lot of other heroes.
yeah. We just talked about too how important this Nyx is for the rest of the Secret lineup just because he's their main initiation and he's their main disable. Like, it's really hard. He has a really difficult job just because he has to do both. He has to stay alive, he has to make sure that he scouts them. At the same time, he has to make sure that he gets some sort of stun off to control up.
And with all of that, he has to make up for the four heroes on Empire in order for them to have an even 5-on-5. So it's a tall order for Universe, but he's also in 2 of these fights. I think he's been a bit lackluster in the execution of his spells.
Yeah.
As if it's probably not one of his most comfortable heroes at present time.
Yeah, credit to where credit is due, though. Empire's played this game really well. Even in the games where they, or the moments where they looked a little bit shaky, the overall strategy aspect of this team seems really strong. Like, I was actually surprised that they were matching the movements over and over of Team Secret. They understood, like, oh, this top lane's pushed in. Guys, let's reset the fight. Let's look over here. They just consistently look for these focused team fights. And
But we knew from the get-go that any 5-on-5, any full-on team fight would always go in the favor of Empire as long as they had the ultimates up.
yeah. I mean, this lineup is really scary. You've almost got a BKB on Afterlife now, so the Arcane Orb won't really do too much to him. We already talked about how much Secret relies on more of their magic damage. And at bottom, Universe might just go down again.
Trying to push out that bottom lane, but will be caught by the double supports, and these supports have so much more mobility now with King R being able to have a Blink Dagger.
This Earth Spirit's been godly this entire game. By far, my MVP so far for Empire.
Easily.
Oh, this has got to be a 1-2 ban from Team Secret if we go to a game 2.
Yeah, 4-1-12 already. Hasn't died. He's died once.
And it was looking grim for Empire in the mid to mid-late game stage, where they got this 18-20 minute blink on the puck. And then Lion, when I thought normally a team that is controlled would probably have that blink dagger for the Lion around the 22-24 minute mark, but he finished his tranquil boost by then. Now he has that blink dagger, and that'll mean that they can go on anywhere around the map and always make sure that the target is permanently disabled, which means that the Naga Siren can also go down easily. So they have no guarantee of escape anymore.
This is going to be troubling, too, for Team Secret, because this game, Empire, relatively new squad. You know, they've been kind of just like cobbled together because they needed a team for this event. They've impressed, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on Team Secret. This team has a lot of expectations. When you go in without having played a single game together as a group, as the tournament favorites, and suddenly you're back into a wall by a team that everyone just thought you would blow out of the water, it kind of becomes a little bit scary. Like, you can't have that doubt creep into your mind.
Add to that, this is not one of the usual goofball strategies that Poppy sometimes picks for his team. You know, it's not one of those, let's try out Necrophos because it looks good. Let's give our Venomancer an Aghanim Scepter because that's a fun meme. It's not one of those lineups. They still have some really, really good heroes that works well together and creates a lot of frustration for the enemy.
So you're saying just because this lineup does look a little different, it does look like a practice strategy?
I
from
think
Team
so.
Secret,
Yeah, definitely. I also think it's a statement that they insist on picking this Nyx Assassin the same way they've used when they played with Misery. Even if it's not one of those heroes that we've been used to seeing Universe on, it's actually a hero that complements his repertoire of playstyle, and I think it should be something that they'll eventually be really good at executing with as well.
Yeah.
So can we emphasize then that this is definitely Team Empire playing much better than expected and playing at a high, like an incredibly high level, reading this game.
I think as a
and
team
not
they're
Team
playing-
Secret coming in low.
Oh yeah, definitely. But as a team, I think that this is where Empire's real strength in this game has shown so far. That they are actually coming together really, really well. Their strategy, their understanding of movement around the map has been really, really well executed so far. And they constantly know on how to deal and how to react to the way Secret is playing. It's actually Secret who fails to react to how Empire is playing right now.
Yeah, I actually really hate that when oftentimes there will be these moments, but it's not even a team playing badly. Is you should start to recognize when when
exactly.
the enemy team is playing well. More importantly, a lot of teams or a lot of people are going to point to this mid game. Even if Secret go on to win this game, they'll say, "Oh man, they played so badly." But I think this is just Empire executing at a high level, like that bottom gank when they instantly got on top of Universe. No mistakes there. They were so clean in their execution with the initial haunt and that team fight by the Roche pit too. Like, they've done all the little things right, and that's what's impressed me so far. But
I think from individual players' perspective, I think only Miposka has really stood out to me as playing on a very high level from Empire. I think both Scandal and King R has been sort of
they've
shaky throughout the game. So again, that comes back to them as a team performing.
Yeah, the strategy
Exactly.
of them being really on
it's
point.
not the individual plays. Well, again, the Earth Spirit has been playing really, really well. It's also a very good hero to play really well on.
But on a good strategy, you only need one hero, one player sometimes to be, hitting everything and doing well for the strategy as
Yeah,
itself
and
to actually.
it may quickly go the other way. If they have a fight that is executed wrongly, then the OD might just pick up all the kills.
Yeah. I think something too, though, is Secret, we're talking as if they are at a disadvantage, which they are, but by no means are they out of this game right now. Their Naga Siren still has plenty of room to grow. He's got the Soul Booster ready. He almost has the Octarine Core. Once he has that, the Manta will be short to follow. Then the game becomes just this grind for Team Empire.
And what you said 30 seconds into the game was they don't really have high ground or tower push.
Exactly.
So that's really problematic when you're up against the Siren. They can't... they need to focus on pushing out the lanes, which essentially is already hard for their lineup. They only have the Spectre to do so with, and he's then susceptible to be ganged out by that Nyx Assassin Wisp relocate combo. So it's super problematic for them, because they can only teamfight when all 5 of them are there.
Oh, Puppy. He's in a relatively scary position, but yeah, I actually really like the point that Jacob highlighted right there, because when you have a hero like the Naga Siren, we talked about how important it was to have a hero that could always constantly push out the lanes, like the Nature's Prophet. That's what opens up opportunities for your team to find kills. And you have that with the Naga, so even though Secret, things are, for these mini engagements it's not working out, the overall game plan is still okay for them.
So we can say that once we do start getting into that grind, we'll see whether or not Team Empire is really a really team destined to be like a superstar team in the way that they'll be able, whether or not they're going to be able to keep up the discipline, essentially, being able to keep their movement exactly on point when Team Secret are poking all these holes with the constant Naga Siren split pushes.
Yeah, because every 30 seconds, every minute that passes by, that Empire isn't doing anything to hinder the progress of Secret and Siren in particular's farm, they're losing. Basically, every time the lanes are pushed a bit into the enemy team or into the Radiant base, is when Empire is falling behind, because they'll have a harder and harder time dealing with it and pushing out the lanes, and it'll take away additional time from them.
What was that timing on the blink again for Scandal?
It was really late.
It was a super late one, and now he's got a
you know what
scythe at 34.
Yeah, you knew what I
The
read.
moment it was like, what? I was like, yeah, Scandal's got a scythe of ice.
Oh, I thought for a second you were disagreeing with me.
No. Dude, Jacob, for once you're kind of saying great things.
Now, if you could only bring that into our scrims.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Normally when you talk, I just I give you the Toby zone treatment and I zone out for
the white noise starts happening.
Yeah, it's like the music starts playing, but it's been pretty good. But most importantly, I'm really surprised that Scandal has the farm that he has right now. The fact that he was able to recover this well and play this safe, I think it speaks a lot to just kind of like the mental fortitude that he's brought. so far into this game. And at the same time, you've got the Glimmer Cape completed onto Maposhka. You have 3,800 gold already on Ramses. They're going to hit a really sick timing when it just comes to overall items.
Speaking of item progression, what do you think of Arteezy not having a Black King buy, especially up against a lineup like this one?
That I think is a mistake, because I was actually thinking about that as he completed the Shiva's guard. I don't think it's the physical damage that bothers him so much. I think it's the fact that he just gets disabled and his team doesn't have anything to counter disable or anything.
Well, to play the devil's advocate, I think the Shiva's guard sort of helps them hold them in place. Like they desperately need some sort of.
He just needs both more than anything. Like
you could say.
Don't you think the mistake was completing, like instead of just having that casual hood?
I think the hood overall, like the concept behind it, is okay. I just think that as the game scaled on, they thought they'd be in a better position with their Naga especially.
It's sort of a wasted inventory slot at this point with all the disabled that is on Empire's lineup.
He definitely does need a BKB sooner than later. I would agree with that.
So we could say that Hood of Defiance is more of like they had to actually do well for themselves at 25 minutes if you're going to make that kind of commitment.
They were doing well, but I still think if you just kept the casual cloak, that was fine. He was already no longer the target of the Lion spells, so it had served its purpose, basically.
Yeah. Alright, so you've got the Relic completed on this Spectre. This Spectre's Ramses is a beast. 707, he's already picked up the Manta and the Diffusal along with the Relic to go with it. This hero's going to get really scary really soon.
But they also recognize that they need to push out these waves, so rather than going for an item like Heart of Tarask, he goes for that Radiance for additional damage and the ability to push out the waves.
That combination is just really strong, no matter how you look at it. The Darkseer Iron Shell plus the Spectre Radiance, when he gets on top of heroes, it's really hard to survive.
He might take down the Dazzle before he even gets off Grave in the team fights.
This Dazzle, he's trying to go for the Glimmer Cape because he knows it's a good item against the Spectre, but not really in the best of position to afford one. And right now, Empire, they've got to be careful because they've done this before where it felt like, to me anyways, they were trying to force the issue when they didn't have to, when they were going for that OD mid. It's easy to get impatient against this kind of lineup, and Empire feels like they should take advantage of this, like get ahead, but you can't just dive into tier 2s.
But if Envy plays this to perfection, we may very well see like one of these classical 80-minute games against the Naga Siren where the entire Empire lineup is going to end up having BOTs because it's the only way that they can still maintain teamfight threat while pushing out the waves as well. You can see right now they have a Lion separated from the rest of the team. Essentially, if it wasn't because of the tower, they could have relocated in on him and gotten a pretty easy kill as long as the Shivas comes off because the Lion won't be able to escape in time.
More importantly than that, it's just the vision game has just not been there for Secret because of this gem, this early gem pickup by the Puck. I think when you have a Spectre on your team and you're playing against a team that heavily relies on vision.
And the high ground defense is going to be so much better once this Nyx Assassin completes his Scepter. That's actually going to be so incredibly frustrating to play against. Then they have a Siren and a burrowed Nyx Assassin.
Yeah. You've got the BKB now onto Arteezy. Pylai just waiting up top, making sure that
I'm actually going to make myself comfortable. I'm pretty sure this game is going to last another 30.
Yeah, there really doesn't seem any way for Empire to take advantage of this great timing for the Spectre. King R's just been playing a game of hunting down illusions. He actually tried to catch Eternal Levy himself there.
Why?
For a second.
There's no way his team could follow. Oh, the Spectre, I guess?
Yeah, he's got the Spectre Hunt. I think they could blow him up really quickly. I think you're underestimating how much damage, for example.
Yeah, and I guess he didn't know that the Wisp and the OD was right behind him.
The Manta plus the Spec Illusions, like you can cut through heroes really quickly.
I think you can absolutely assume that oftentimes Eternal Levy is going to be alone or not have the same kind of backup that seemingly that
history would back that up.
Yeah. All right, so next move for Secret, I guess, is just let the waves push in, play safe behind each other, make sure you protect each other, and for Empire, it's try to find whatever positioning advantages you can. Like they want to try to poke holes in Secret's defense. So far, Secret haven't really given up anything too big, but this might just change as Empire. They're looking around the Roche pit.
There's the Manta.
I'm very excited to see if a 5-on-5 breaks out, what's going to happen. Like, if this Dazzle dies early on, it just adds more fuel to the Baby Raids meme, where it'll then be, instead of Peter, it'll be Puppy.
Puppy's like doing the best he can right now.
Yeah, he definitely is.
It's like, what are you supposed to do is like a 0-6-3 Dazzle where your team is
and exactly the way he's been playing it is where he runs in as the sacrificial lamp, sort of almost a Melka ward being given, where he runs in with a dash just to gather information and make sure that the rest of his team can follow in with perfect positioning.
Jacob, the milk award though, it's not just given to at bottom.
Sorry, I missed that one. I was listening to Jacob talk, but they actually managed to get a quick relocate out there.
Yeah, to win the milk award, man, you've got to win the game while this happens. So
are you saying Poppy isn't going to win the game?
Hey, right now it's
definitely
not looking
close.
easy.
Empire, they haven't been jumping the gun too much, and now they actually might have found the kill. They know the Wisp is down. Artur, he's open for the taking, and this is going to be a huge pickoff. They can actually take him, but of course they can. Empire have rotated so many heroes to
just
be able to pick it up. Holy cow, yeah, Ramses, he's already looking for more. Almost had Eternal Envy there as well. Jesus, that damage with the Manta style. Good read by Ramses, though. He's like, Artur's dead. I don't need to worry about it at all. Goes for the other heroes, picks up whatever extra they can. And at this point, do you agree with it? This looks like they're going Roshan.
Yeah, I think now is the opportunity because now your Spectre has a lot of damage to back himself up, but man, you just see Puppy can't even survive the basic haunt. What he's supposed to do in the rest of the game. His team gets split up. He doesn't have a high mobile hero or anything like that.
So they're going to put the Aegis on the Spec?
I think you should.
Yeah, the thing is, if they can actually manage to take him down once, there's no way they can do it again.
Yeah. Okay, this sucks.
Yeah, Song of the Siren.
Yeah,
too
like, you just gotta
dangerous.
get out. For Empire,
that was exactly what I was going to lead into, though, was like, is this the right play to go into Roshan? Because you do have that Song. Perhaps it would be better to just take map control at that point.
Oh, so they're gonna stack up BKB so that can keep fighting throughout Song of the Siren.
No, you have a good point there, and this actually is pretty bad for Empire just because they were able to get a bunch of kills, but there's two things that you can do here. Is one, you push out other lanes and get aggressive on the tower, or you go for that Roshan, and I think they really wanted to go for that Roshan just because getting it onto the Spectre would be huge, and it would deny Secret another way to come back into this game. But I guess I just overestimated how much damage that Spectre does because they did not cut through that very quickly at all.
With their cliff wards, they do see opportunity here, but
no.
Universe, he misses out on the stun, and now there's a chance that Scandal can actually be able to escape. He jumps over to his orb, should be enough distance. He's still kind of slowed down, but does manage to get the Dream Coil to slow down Team Secret's advance here, and they may stumble into a 5-man fight they can actually win. The Spectre ultimate is up too. They see Eternal Envy. Can they actually lock him down long enough to be able to prevent that Song of the Siren? They pop their BKBs. Eternal Envy doesn't actually have an escape from here. The rest of the Secrets start coming forward, but it's too late. Eternal Envy's already gone. A Pylite Die gets it safe from the imprisonment, but both of these supports are just gone. And Team Secret, they're going to get totally wiped here if they're not careful. It's going to be two of their big cores down. Both supports are dead, and it's only Universe who's going to manage to get the escape and the TP out. Once again, Team Empire, they've been playing this patiently, and once again, they found the opening against Team Secret that's going to allow them to take a huge advantage.
And it's just like great read by them as well, focusing out the Naga Siren, just knowing that they've picked up this Black King bar on the Spectre, so they know they can take him down. They completely anticipate when he's gonna. It's fairly easy, you know. BKB is instant, whereas Song has an animation.
Yeah, more importantly, it's the decision by Ramses. Like oftentimes, item builds don't impact the game too much because they're usually very standard, but the decision by him to go for the BKB because he understands he can get on top of that Naga Siren and take him down really quickly. Really intelligent by him, and
you just gotta scratch your head of your Poppy right now. Like, how is he even gonna survive through the team fights?
Yeah.
He wasn't even close to anyone else, and he still just ticks down. If you see his health bar in that team fight, he just ticks down from these illusions hitting him. I think it's like 5 or 6 hits from them, and he just dies, and there's nothing he can do about it other than graving himself.
It all started too with that engagement at bottom when Universe misfired on the stun onto the puck. The puck in general is just going to be a chancey target for you.
Oh, wow.
I mean, a near impossible target.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, he misses the stun, but I think in general, Scandal should be able to dodge that one. Like, the animation's pretty slow.
Oh yeah, at this level. Like, if you make it to Manila, you should be able to easily dodge. Next stun of all stuns in the game is probably the easiest.
You know, this actually says so much about the game where they have to relocate Eternal Envy up to the top lane because we were talking about that atmosphere of fear, right? Where Empire were kind of feeling it with the split push and the Nyx Assassin setting up these relocate ganks, but they survived through that. They countered it, actually.
The thing
that beautiful play at bottom, and now
that
it's
only
the
lasted 2 minutes, right? I don't really feel that the fear of the Nyx Assassin was evident throughout this game. There was like this 2-minute gap where they knew exactly how to move around the map, and from there on, the threat was nullified.
Yeah,
there wasn't any.
It was the switch at bottom when they knew that the switch was coming from Universe. As soon as he disappears from top and he's not taking advantage of the lane, it's Secret kind of telegraphing almost, saying like, "Oh, our Nyx is going to be bottom here." They tuck in at bottom, they tuck in at mid, and they kind of just like wait out the danger.
Yeah, and then later they actually used it to their advantage.
They kill them.
They just sit far enough back for him not to have vision of them, even though I still think that's a slight misplay.
I mean, you do
going
have
for
to
the
at least
additional
give
information.
Empire credit. They did it during nighttime.
Yeah, exactly.
They stayed really far
Yeah.
back.
They've played this game throughout really, really well.
27 to 10, 15k XP, as it's now King R that's playing the Nyx Assassin role, as he's waiting for Pylai to get separated from Arteezy, but with the Invis rune already more than halfway gone, looks like he's a little bit hesitant about this.
Can he actually blow up Pylai and just blink TP out?
No.
Don't think he has the damage with the counter.
He needs to hit him a few times, and
Yeah.
that's where the real threat comes in.
I don't think that's worth it for him. The value cloak there actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the cloak makes the difference
Yeah.
between a death and life there.
Without the cloak, he probably has enough damage.
Well, he sees Puppey, and that's actually going to be able to set up the Spectre ultimate.
Oh god.
And Eternal Envy blowing the Song of Siren there, afraid that he was going to be the one who's jumped.
Oh, that's going to open up the map a little bit for Empire, and that's going to allow them to probably take down this top tier 2.
It's a 30-second gap though.
It is, but at the same time, it at least lets you take this top tier 2 tower for free because we
Actually.
we talked about it like
Yeah, it's not level 3 yet when
Yeah.
he used it. So he actually maybe went for stats, not sure what
I
happened
think he
there.
misclicked
but
there.
Yeah. So it's actually a bit longer. But they're going to expect. They're going to expect
Yeah,
a
exactly.
30-second gap. Yeah.
So again, this game has been about the whole paranoia about what to expect and what to fear from the enemy, and I'm assuming they're gonna expect a level 3 song.
I think right there, by the way, even if Song is down, even if it's only for like 30 short seconds, it's important that you go for a play for that top tower because you know now it's almost guaranteed free. We might not be able to get much more out of it, but
Whenever they have an advantage, they gotta push it.
yeah.
With Naga Siren and an Ags Nyx Assassin, no objective is free at this point. So got to take those opportunities when they present themselves.
But the issue is still, as long as the Siren is alive and the Nyx too, I don't see them breaking the base. Even if it's a 2-on-5, that Spectre needs some kind of disable on them in order for him to actually kill them off and take the town, take down the towers. You think he's gonna go for a heart instead of the Aegis?
I'm trying to think right now. Even Butterfly has a lot of potential for me. Just because there's no magic burst damage from Secret, and he's got the BKB, so if he goes to the Butter, we talked about how heroes like OD especially rely on their right click.
Yeah.
Oh, King R. He almost had that. The whole team swarmed in. They went for, again, the reload K play.
That's a second Hex, by the way.
The yeah, they've got the Scythe of Ice on him.
They have so much disable.
There's something else. Oh, that's right. Mapochka is, I think he's going for Vlad's. It's kind of cool. They don't have a Vlad's hero, right?
Yeah.
So.
But not only are these hexes great in team fights, it's also just to immediately nullify the Siren push.
Yeah.
I love this. This line pickup. You see the Shadow Blade?
Yeah. This
That's cool.
It does make a lot of sense because you know that the two supports from Secret are super slowed down in terms of farm. They can't really afford buying a gem of their own. And the best thing about it more than anything is you can set up for kills with the Haunt with it around the map. You can hunt down Eternal Envy, figure out which one the real one is, and with the 7-second disable, pretty sure you can kill him. I agree. That was a really smart pickup. It's a map control item more than anything, especially on a support.
So there's the Butterfly for the Naga Siren.
Aegis is down. Maybe Secret's time to move. Probably not, though.
It is a heart.
Wow.
I agree with your analysis, though. I think the Butterfly would have been the better pickup.
Now, OD is not a hero that wants to go MKB, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess no matter how you look at it, though, without the burst damage, 3100 HP.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
you're not gonna die to the OD ult either.
yeah.
I guess that's the
certainly
benefit from it.
And it sustains your pushes more than anything, which is what we already talked about Empire struggling with. When you've got the Naga Siren Radiant Illusions popping out, and you've got to cut through them, even losing 200-300 bits of your...
Oh, they actually go for Artur here. The Scythe of Ice opening up. The BKB already activated, but they get the relocate out. So they still manage to have the save. Eternal Envy is going to be jumped down. Diffusal constantly is going to be Scythe of Ice as well, and should be taken out here. The vacuum into the wall. Good setup there. That is going to be able to allow Empire to fully strike on a Team Secret. It could have just been a one pick up, and now it's going to turn into so much more as 4 go down from Team Secret, and Empire just opened up the base for themselves.
Poppy actually pulled off a move called the Art Style, where he rapes himself instead. That often is also the quick cast.
Yeah, he might have. Regardless, I don't think the fight would have mattered.
No, it wouldn't have changed anything in this particular instance.
Yeah, it was pretty one-sided, but
Now
Empire
Team
just looking
Secret.
so dominant.
They're just falling apart. It's now Artur, buyback. He was the only one who had it. And now dieback, immediate GG and DC out as Secret are going to lose their very first game as a new team.
That's Empire executing on a very high level. This is not Secret losing, that's Empire winning.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. I think a lot of people are going to look at this game and say Secret played really badly, but you have to give just as much credit for Empire on the flip side of things, that relocate bait at bottom, the way that they anticipated the lane switches, they did all the little things right.
So who knew that the opening story here of this series for Team Secret would actually be all in the hands of Team Empire. This lineup that people weren't expecting much out of, actually extremely impressed.
But you know what?
This
This just makes me even more excited about game 2.
Yeah.
The fact that Empire can deliver on this level and go in and threaten Secret, who we all thought would be the major storyline of the tournament, or we all still expect to be, that they can go in and deliver this kind of performance against them is just going to make game 2 even more hyped. Because what is probably going to do now is he's probably going to adjust the draft, right? He's not just going to say this was all just Earth Spirit. You know, this isn't solved with a ban. I think he needs to do different picks.
Well, our analysts have asked a lot of questions for Team Secret and Team Empire. They'll have their chance to respond in game number 2.